I would like to know if this, it seems like there's a lot of issues, um, like Greatex was saying, about talking about awareness, consciousness, whatever versions of the terms. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to take, uh, well, I think I know Heithel today watched this. I don't know if you remember this part of the Penrose lecture I linked and he was referring to, and we were referring to it for a bit. Um, he was talking about I can't define these following terms: consciousness, awareness, and understanding. But I can, as a mathematician, start to identify relationships between them. It's hard to define exactly what a mother is, right? Because you have biological mother, but there's adoptive mothers. There's various ways to complicate that. Lakoff uses this as an example of a lot, as a category um, that has radial structures and whatnot, right? But it's a lot easier to talk about the relationship between a mother and a child, so that an adoptive mother, her relationship with their child, that's what still exists. That's what makes it justified to call somebody besides the biological mother the mother, right? So you can actually find out about relationships, or what you think between relationships of categories, even if you haven't totally come up with a definition, an analytic definition for, like the essence of that category. And it's good you can do that, since when you do come up with that essential definition, it's just a theory. You might probably have to change it over time. But, unlike what Graytex said, I don't really know what those things are. Certainly not what might be an emotional example. I made a video about that. Nobody wanted to talk about that. Okay? Not yet. So it makes me wonder, please, I know a lot of you are vegetarians. Let's just be frank with each other. Is this about the vegetarianism? Because I don't see why it has to be. But like I said in my video where I went over 3 of these things, and this is one of them, my view on the evils of the meat industry has to do with the cruel life those animals have to lead. I eat grass-fed beef from the island. These animals live in a fairly nice way. Just like, plants, flourish. They don't mind being kept in one place. They do that anyway. It's harder with cattle. They need to wander around. Well, here we have, I think, still at least one of the biggest ranches they have. They they range in a, you can't call it natural because the jungle didn't look like that up there, but it's up in a colder area, and it's good pasture land. It's green, rolling hills. There's some trees. They. Okay, so I never said, oh, because they're sentient. I always knew they had some sentience to them, or felt that they did. So by that kind of criterion, obviously plants are kept. If you look at it genetically, they, wheat has done better than ever because of humans. If you look at biomass, if that counts. If you look at quality of life, I think we keep the wheat in a way that the wheat digs, right? But there are issues there, right? Industrial farming can be a bad thing. But I think it's pretty hard to abuse. If you stress your plants out, you're not going to farm as well. So even though they're toxing them up with certain pesticides, I don't think that probably makes for a worse experience for the plant necessarily. I don't think being able to talk about the experience of plants could possibly, really be what you justify vegetarianism on, that they don't have experiences. I mean, I think the fact is, the kind of internal experience that mammals have, and birds and lizards, but they are also different, right? They have a limbic emotional life. They don't have this forebrain life, but I think that I think you can make a very good distinction that that is a sharp experience. It's an experience where one can dread and visualize, and figure out that you're being harvested, that you're a slave. You know, I don't think a plant can figure out it's been enslaved, and I don't really think that concept applies to plants, even though I think they have an internal experience. I don't think it ranges on having an internal experience, and I think the history of feeling that it ought to has a lot to do with our past theism. You know, that God put souls in things, and that's what made those lives sacred, and other things aren't sacred, and so go for it. Right? And we should just shed that. That's not the discriminating factor we need to do. And if everything has consciousness right down to bacteria, or something like this, or awareness, obviously we're in a situation where you can't have a rule of never, you can't wipe your counter with cleanser. You have to let the germs live there because they have internal experiences. It doesn't make sense. You need another criteria. And I think animals that can experience their oppression as such, they won't. Animals that won't reproduce in captivity, they can sense, however their visualization of the concept is without language, their system obviously is reacting to being, in captivity in a way plants won't do. It shows something about what's important to plants. Okay? Plants have also evolved to have fruit and stuff, and consumption and interaction with animals, and relying on animals, and predation of plants is a part of that. But is this really the big issue? Is the ramifications on vegetarianism the issue? Because I'd like to talk about that then, because I don't think there are any ramifications on vegetarianism or its ethical nature from this, other than I don't think there is one, because I think there's other things to justify that on. But I do think there might be, a little bit of an impact, that we shouldn't have industrial farming of any sort. We really should treat all living things as living things, like the polyface farm, But it doesn't mean you can't harvest your wheat. It means that you'll have more healthy, happy wheat. All right, cheers.